白い闇の中で密かに時は流れて浅い眠りの中遠くに君の微笑み見失った心の旅路 Where are you going? When are you coming home? 光あふれる未来求めて Oh, where are you going? When are you coming home? 時の流れ乗り越えこの大空駆け抜けこの手で作る新しい世界と愛の歌
Hello, surprise, and welcome to whatever we're calling this thing. That's a crossover.
Crossover, possibly
Crossover.
do You Remember Robotech? Is that what we said?
Yeah, that was the thing I made as a joke. And I could call it the episode. I could call it that informally. I'll probably count this as a Detour Quarry anyway, just for my organization purposes. But on your end, it's gonna be whatever you feel like.
Yeah,
Because it's a meeting of two podcasts.
it's a meeting of the minds of two geniuses, of the two smartest people in their respective podcasts together at one.
I wouldn't call myself. I feel like it's presumptuous of me to say, "Oh, I'm the smartest."
We just do it for each other.
I will not sign off on that.
We'll do it for each other. It's fine. So that way we can't. No one can get mad at us. And Manny will probably never hear this, so it's good.
As long as Manny doesn't hear this.
Yeah. Well, how's it going? I'm excited to be here, and I hope likewise. What are we doing here today? What's the plan?
Yeah. So, to begin, I'm sure. So we're cross-uploading this, so this will be in both our respective feeds. To introduce, because some of you might not know, might listen to both podcasts. I'm ML, she, her, host of Ultra Q. That's QUE. UE, the podcast doing Ultraman. You Shane, introduce yourself and your podcast.
Okay.
People on my feed may not know.
All right, if you're listening to this from Ultra Q, my name is Shane, also known as Vicarious Shaner. I am one of the co-hosts of Do You Remember Robotech, which is a podcast where I have roped my poor unfortunate friend Manny into comparing every episode of Robotech against its original anime counterpart, one after the other, like one on one each episode. It is sometimes illuminating, oftentimes excruciating, and you kind of have to like us to like it. But if you haven't listened to it, I don't know, and you listen to these episodes and you think, wow, Shane's somewhat funny, I don't know, so you go listen to that as well. We have a lot of cool stuff there. We're currently on kind of a mini break. That's why we're doing this, I guess, for both of us.
Yeah.
We're both breaking.
What a coincidence. Ultra is also on a bit of a new. For context, both our products are on a mini break, which is, I guess you could say, the impetus for pulling the trigger on this. Though we had already been talking about like doing something like this beforehand. It's just a matter of like, oh well, it's convenient now to do it more than like this isn't like me doing, oh well, I need something to do for a month where Alt Q's on break. I think it was like you DM'd me, and then forgot to get back to me until like the day after, and the day after was also the day where very last minute we were like, hey, can we take a break for a month? So I was like, well, you know what? This is a weird coincidence happening right now, so I guess we need.
Originally, you told me 4 months, and I was like, wow, we're gonna have a lot of time to go through Orguss.
That was a typo. I was like, I meant for reason I was like, oh yeah, 4 months. No, wait, it's 4 weeks. That would have been too long, I think. But
yeah.
that's okay.
So what are we covering? Something kind of mostly related to my podcast, and then I guess
so
hardest related to what you were watching coincidentally.
Basically, it was like, well, first of all, I do want to say, this is not related to this specific thing, but like way back in the past, I had like an idea for a podcast called Robotrek, which is basically the idea for your podcast. And then I saw, years later, you put out your podcast. And I'm like, oh, good, I don't have to do it. Someone else does. But yeah, I think when you started your podcast, I was like, there's 3 shows in the quote-unquote Super Dimension trilogy, right?
Yes.
And you got Macross, which I had seen GGP already, which meant I did not watch it along with this podcast. Which did mean admittedly, when I was listening to your podcast, I was like, I barely remember any of this stuff, so maybe I should have rewatched. But it's fine. And then you have Southern Cross, which you guys have started.
Yep, just 2 episodes in.
There's a 3rd show in between those 2 that is not in the Robotech, and that's we got today. We got Super Dimension Century Orguss.
Orguss.
As the OP likes saying. Very good OP, by the way.
Yeah. And we're covering it in all 3 parts, and then doing an extra one covering the 90s OVA. So we're doing
Orguss 2.
We said first 12 episodes today, and then we're doing 12 again, and then 11 for the last bit. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch Orguss, I guess stop the podcast right now and go watch 12 episodes of Orguss.
Yeah, it's not like we warned you in advance or anything. But yeah, I think it was like you started the podcast, and I was like, well, I guess this gives me time to like watch Orguss before they get to Southern Cross, the release order thing. And then I watched 2 episodes and didn't watch anymore until you got to Southern Cross. And I was like, well, I better hurry up with Orguss because now they started Southern Cross. But then your podcast started to be on board, and you were like, hey, what? I think we talked about like, because you brought on some guests, you brought on Jackson earlier. For you were like, hey, you can come on, and I was like, oh sure, and because I'm watching Orguss, I can be like the Orguss whisperer because I'll fill in the missing link super dimension gap because Orguss isn't a Robotech thing. And then you were like, well, maybe we could do like a bonus thing, and then the podcast went on break, and it's like, oh well, I guess it's time to pull the Orguss plug, do Orguss content.
We were hitting the isekai button. We were slamming it.
Yeah.
You already know this, but I'll relate just because it's funny. I had no idea this was an isekai show. I watched the first episode, and I was like, this is really boring. And then he goes into an alternate world, and I'm like, what? This is an isekai? What the fuck?
It's the second isekai.
It's
coming after Dunbine in like 3 or 4 months later. It's crazy.
Viewers of my podcast will know we sometimes have a terrible segment called Manny's Isekai Corner, but now I've somehow extended the corner to all 4 squares for covering this whole isekai show. Yeah. We also had another segment called Standing Ovation, which is you've actually, as we've talked about, read all of JoJo, so it would be pointless.
I'm caught up on JoJo Land moment.
Yeah, so there'd be no reason for us to do it there, though it would be very fun.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Terrible.
Can't subject Manny to it. Manny's not here, so
Manny's definitely walked away from the microphone at this point.
I walked away in indignation.
On surprise. Oh, no. Who's this person who I've never met before?
It's Manny.
I was just hanging out, and then I felt it in my bones. Somebody said isekai, so I was summoned. And as soon as I get in here, the isekai talk is over, and it's JoJo. Like I feel like I've been baited and switched. And what am I doing here?
Hi there. Glad you could join us. We weren't planning on this, but you were just hanging out. So sometimes podcasts work that way. Sometimes someone's just hanging out, and you invite them on for the segment they hate. Standing Ovation is a quick little fun segment we do, completely unrelated to the main body of work that me and Manny perform with looking over various animes / I guess Robotech's a cartoon, where I just show Manny a stand, which is one of the kind of like character, but also a power set from the manga anime franchise JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. and Manny has to kind of guess what he thinks it does and also what he thinks of it, kind of born out of a desire because Manny truly despises the art style and I think it's very funny. And also many of the powers seem to annoy him. So it's just
The funny thing is, like, when you say he hates the art style, I'm like, oh, which art style? Because it's like 50. Guy evolves a lot.
Manny seems annoyed by all of them. But
yeah, he definitely evolves, but he's also like in the same continent of style, I guess.
Now, I will say I do think that like part 1 to 3, where he's doing like off-brand Fist of the North Star, is really leagues apart from part 7, where he's just like,
oh yeah,
really, really different, really pretty faces. But
I love the twinks in part 7 and 8. They're great.
Am I misremembering it, or does everybody have like really great eyelashes in like later JoJo stuff?
Yeah, you're on correctly. That's true.
That's like the thing that I remember the most from the little bit I've seen. Wow, these are great eyelashes. Yeah, not the rest of the drawings, but yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about one random JoJo guy, and then we'll kick you out.
Awesome. I'm making a cameo on kind of my own podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's half your own podcast and half someone else's podcast. You're guesting as a guest.
Nice.
It's guestception.
All right. Let's take a look.
I'm ready. My eyes are taped open. I'm strapped to the chair. Hit me.
Yeah, Mel, I sent you the image of Manny. You can scroll down.
Yes.
Scroll down in the doc QMed.
I can't. For disclosure, I can't actually guess this one because I was actually the one who suggested it.
Yeah, we're both going to be laughing over Manny's inability to guess something completely impossible.
Okay, all right. I'm looking at this fabulous-looking gentleman. Oh my, I'm digging it. Okay, so think of the Silver Surfer, that guy on a silver surfboard that surfs, and he's silver, and put like kind of like bunny ears, but they're like too pointy. What is it? Okay, so first off, he's got like a banana hammock going on. It's very pink. It's very nice. Attractive to the eye. It really draws you in. Is he like a doll? He looks small. I guess I'm thinking because of the joints in the shoulders there, like the ball sockets.
This stand is human person length.
Human proportioned. Okay, great. I want to have a dance with this guy. So he's got the face mask covering, so he's doing pretty good anti-COVID measures here. I'm digging it.
There's a lot of holes in there. I don't know if you would.
I think it's stitching rather than holes. I'm gonna believe it's stitching.
It's not N95. I don't think if you're doing the stitches right there.
Okay, and his entire all his limbs are lined with hearts, upside down hearts.
Yeah.
Are these hearts in distress? Is that what's going on? But yeah, he's very muscular. He's very, I'm just in my thong hanging out. I'm my thong in my boots.
Who among us?
Living free.
Yeah, I'm digging it. Now, I'm gonna have to guess what his power is just because he's wearing.
Did you mention his bunny ears, by the way?
Oh yes, bunny ears for sure. I mentioned them. The pointy bunny ears. Okay, so it looks like he's got a vest. At any point, does he grab the sides of the vest and like flip it open and just like show the world how amazing this stand is? Like, oh yeah, this check me out world.
No, not exactly.
I do remember there's a chapter that opens with like a shirtless shot of the stand's user, but it's from the back.
This stand would go. This stand would like be he steal the show at a runway. Like I can see the stand going down the runway. He's doing that walk. You know what I'm talking about? Gets to the end of the runway, opens the vest, shows off, gets back in. Oh, I'm loving it.
They're fabulous. Mel, do you like this? Do you like this design, by the way?
Yeah, it's a cool stand. I mean, I also know the contacts, which helps.
Yeah, Manny, what do you think this stand does? I'll tell you. Sometimes it's really hard. I think just with the information we've given you about the show and our little prologue, that you might be able to guess it. Okay,
so is this my stand? Is this like the isekai stand?
This is the isekai stand. Yeah, you got it.
Awesome.
Do you have any more specific guesses? Because you're basically right. But what do you think? How do you think that works?
Okay, so how strange of a world does this guy take you to? Is it like Oh, it's just like the same world with a slightly different, you know, this coin flip was tails, this coin flip was heads, or is it completely different?
It's like there's an uncountable number of parallel worlds, sort of thing. So like there's a billion variations that are out
And
there.
I think that like they aren't like, whoa, the whole world is like completely upside down, but they are like, damn, this is like a noticeable timeline change.
Oh,
Kind of
this is
thing,
like that episode of TNG where Worf went into all the different universes, and there was one where he was married to Troy.
Yeah,
Okay, just like that, I
Star
get it.
Trek.
It's a good
it's
show.
good.
It's a good show.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
Check
I just
out
been thinking about it,
you
like,
know,
the past couple weeks. Like, yeah, I should watch Star Trek.
Star Trek Picard, top of the top there. Everyone loves that one the most. It's a great
Yes,
place to
exactly.
start.
Star Trek
Yeah,
Picard and
I've heard on other
Star Trek
podcasts that people really like Picard.
Yeah, no, it's bad. All right, well, yeah, that's the
yes.
Isekai stand.
I
this
love the
fella?
design. I love the power. I love the vibes, the aura this guy has. I need you to tell me what his name is.
His name is Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap.
This guy. Okay. You know.
Which is
Okay. You know this. I'm gonna say this is my number one ranked.
ooh,
stand.
It's
Wow.
it's a cool one. It's a final boss too. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
You need a whole squad to take this guy down.
the president of the United States is the owner of the
Yes.
stand. By the way,
Oh fuck, dude. All right.
Hey, he's the final boss.
So I don't.
Part 7 rule.
I don't think we have a ranking of stands, but if we did, it would be this guy, and then directly under him, this guy would be standing on top of the radio tower.
Manny, you know you would kill me if I wanted you to rank all the stands. You would not. You would not stand for that.
Funny enough, my favorite stand is also
Oh, what's your favorite stand?
Scary Monster.
Oh, good. It's a fun one. We can't talk about it because it might be be on standing ovation.
Manny might have to find out what that is.
I guess my segment is over, so I'm just gonna go build a Gundam.
Yeah, go have fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Literally,
popping in.
it was a good Gundam when we saw the pictures, even though we just met and hadn't talked before. But
It is a good one. It's I'm not gonna talk anymore. This is not my podcast. I'm kicking myself out.
We appreciate it.
okay.
You guys
Bye,
have a great
Manny.
pod. Bye bye.
Later.
Thank you. Bye bye. That was fun. All right, I'm ready to get Orguss.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
we have to, I like the part where K-Cat Saraga says it's organ time, and then he sings a song that's 50% ethnic slurs by volume.
Maybe Kia just played like Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, and he heard it there, and he was like, "Well, can't be that bad if it's in
Is that
the Kingdom Hearts
the
game."
one with a? Is that the one with a Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Yeah. So it's in
Okay,
that
okay.
context.
Do they say it in that game?
Yes, they do say it in that. I'm not.
Oh no.
I'm not going to put a
Oh,
clip of it
no.
in there because it's sort of
Yeah,
weird to put a slur. But you can look it
yeah.
up at home, audience.
So for anyone who hasn't watched Orguss yet,
Hold on. Wait. We need to explain what the intro to the show before we get into the slurs and the ending theme.
Okay, should I do production history? Cause,
Yeah. Please.
I kind of forget how much production history do you on your pod, but this is like I like to do at least a little cursory look on my pod and stuff. So my sources were basically the Japanese wiki, and also found a blog post, which I'll post in the description. I'll share it for Shane as well, so he can also post it in the description on his feed. The blog is up, by the way. Future War Stories, 2020. Anyway, Orguss is Super Dimension Century Orguss. Macross blew up a lot, and so they're like, "Well, we should do another one of those." This one is by once again you have Studio Nue as the creative helm organization again. So you have a lot of the same creative team being carried over from Macross onto Orguss. That includes the director Noichi Guro, writers Kenichi Matsuzaki and Hiroshi Onogi, and then character designer Haruhiko Mikimoto. Notably, mecha designer Shoji Kawamori, who also I think did some other stuff, Macross creative stuff. Because I know he's also the guy for future Macross stuff. He wasn't on Orguss because he was busy with Do You Remember Love, making movies. Well, first they had another mecha designer, Yasashi Ishizu. There were some delays on the production side of Orguss. There were some production issues. So they went and grabbed The other mecha designer from Macross, Kazuki Miyatake, who at that moment was helping work on the first isekai show, Dunbine, in its early stages. And they called him up, was like, "Hey, buddy, you're one of our guys. You're a studio new guy. Can you help us out with Orguss?" And he was like, "Yep, I'll come over by Dunbine." So he wasn't involved with Dun too much.
Okay, I was going to say, because the mecha design in Dunbine is like a billion miles away from quality wise with the mecha design of the show.
Like I think he did like a couple of the grunt suits. I don't remember ones. They're probably still somewhere. He didn't do the Dunbine. That's
okay.
As far as I know. But yeah, funny how like one guy was working on both the first two isekai shows within like the same year. But yeah, notably another weird thing was the animation studio changed for this show. The original Macross was animated by Tatsunoko, but apparently at this moment, Tatsunoko was working on a new show called Moss Peta, which you will get to eventually. And so instead, shifting the animation studio switched to TMS. Notably, Moss Peta would apparently air along basically the second half of Orguss, it seems, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So funny enough, Moss Peta goes between Macross and Southern Cross, despite that order kind of switched for Robotech. Also, I think it's noted that this may also be a big part of why Orguss was not brought over for Robotech, because TMS did it and not Tatsunoko, and the deal for Robotech was all the Tatsunoko shows. So that seems to be part of the reason why they got Moss Peta instead.
Yeah, they Carl Masek just did not have access to Orguss at the time, so it was never even considered.
Yeah, which is weird because, like, same franchise ostensibly, but different studio did it, so I guess they couldn't get it, and they got a different show instead. Since it's a follow-up to Macross at the time of release, they kind of said, "Oh, it's a related work, and maybe it's in the far future of Macross." But then within a decade, you have actual sequels to Macross, like Macross Plus and Macross 7, and so they kind of just like, "Oh, that's not a thing they bring up as much these days." They never outright denied it. I think the Japanese wiki said that, like, they put a timeline suggesting that Orguss is like, oh, this is an AU where Macross didn't come to Earth, but in the same setting, and it's a thing where they're probably not like going to commit one way or the other.
This seems mostly like fanon, is what you're saying?
I mean, not very fanon. Because it was Studio Noe, but like also it's not really like a thing where they confirmed as canon. Maybe it's just like it's probably messier to actually try and make it canon at this point, because like, well, when you think about, oh, I'm going to watch the sequel to Macross, you're like, well, I'm going to watch the adventures of Neki Basara, not Kikatsuraki, There's definitely references to Macross stuff. Like, at one point, the protagonist just says, oh, hey, that's a Gerwalk machine. It's like, oh, yeah, they just say Gerwalk outright.
And he dated all of the Macross girls, more importantly.
Oh, was he saying what was the names of all the Macross girls?
Yes. In the second...
I missed that. That's good.
Second episode, he not only names them, but he shows their faces. And he's like, yeah, Minmay, Vanessa, I wish I was back with you.
I completely missed the That's cute. That's fun.
Yeah.
Orguss aired the week after Macross ended. Apparently, Miyatake decided to go in a unique direction with the mecha designs, trying to go for more organic design. And this did not reflect into good toy sales. Apparently, one of the show's sponsors got bankrupt as a result.
Hold on, for this show, they're supposed to look organic?
I think he tried to do something like that. That's what the sources say.
What?
It's something.
They look like Transformers. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
Huh.
Clearly, he didn't succeed, whatever he was doing. Also, the show was aired in a bad time slot, and it's had a bit more of a slow burn plot, so it did not take off in the same way that Macross did.
Right.
Which is why we don't have Orguss 7. Okay, yeah, that's what Shield done.
All right.
And we can talk about the show, the first 12 episodes of Orguss.
Yeah. So, what's a good starting point? I guess like a basic explanation of the premise and the arc.
Yeah.
Which I think shouldn't be too hard for this show here.
Because we gotta. You mentioned off mic that episode 1 is kind of boring, and it kind of is, but also it's important for setting what the show is.
Yeah. And I'm curious if any of that'll come up. But do you mind if I just do a quick little summary there in that respect?
Yeah, go for it.
I could do one of those 5-sentence summaries, that they do on all the fancy literary podcasts. See if I can get the first 12 episodes in there.
Yeah.
All right. You got to count. You got to keep me like honest for my sentences, though. That's the important part.
I measure the color timers on the I'm all about keeping the numbers honest. I'm like
K is a fighter pilot.
and a womanizer.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, sure. That's first sentence. K is a fighter pilot and a womanizer. Sentence 1, done. He gets isekai'd into a world, and specifically into a factory ship full of elves that really love trading. He gets into a love triangle with the worst man on the planet and anime elf Ferengi. Is that 3?
Yes, 3. That's the most one.
They are constantly bombarded with attacks from the military force of that world, the Chirem, who have slices of pizza on all of their heads because they value him for being the, quote, singularity, which is as of yet not explained. And final sentence, he gets a robot named Orguss, and they have a number of fun episodic adventures for the most part.
Yeah.
All right. Done.
I would say this is like a... Well, first off, to start, I would say that this show feels like it's in the vein of like a bunch of mecha shows of this era, where it's like from the people who watch Space Battleship Yamato, where it's like you got the crew on a ship, and that ship's going somewhere, and it's being hounded, and you see this in Gundam, in Ideon, and the original Macross itself, and you got it in this show too, which I think is worth bringing.
Yeah, very much of the ilk, absolutely.
I don't know if this is correct in my head, but I feel like in my head it's like if Macross is this team's Gundam, then maybe this is Orguss is this team's Ideon in terms of just like how they go about that particular plotting. Because I feel like the dimension stuff makes me think of Ideon a bit, but also I don't know. I think I'm stretching a little bit there.
Yeah, I've only seen one episode of Ideon. I know a little bit about like the ending gets weird, which I'm really hoping this goes towards that, and there's some things in it that maybe point towards it. There's small little bits of very interesting plot that occur.
I think they're going for some stuff with the world building. I think they put a lot of effort in thinking about this world. I think it's cool. Backtracking a bit, I do want to say we should talk about how Kei gets isekai'd, which is that he's kind of just in a kind of a Macross-ish Earth setting at the start, but the setting has the banned weapons, A for atomic, B for biological, C for chemical, but then they added D for dimensional, where they set up a space-time bomb. They're setting the bomb, and then they abort it, but then Kei decides to set it off anyway, and he gets caught in the space-time blast, and that's why he gets these guys in episode 1, basically.
Yeah.
Which I think is important, because I feel like the show is... Maybe it's not outright saying it, but maybe not so subtly hinting that why is this world the way it is? This world where a bunch of different Earths have seemed to merge into a single Earth, and there's weird stuff where sometimes a dimensional transfer happens, and one piece of the Earth just gets swapped with another one or something. And also, why is K this thing called the singularity that may fix the weird dimension stuff? Maybe these things are related to the fact he was the guy who set up the bomb. Maybe the bomb stuff. That's my hunch. That's what I'm guessing where this.
There's a lot. It does make you examine a lot of the facts of the world in that context, which I think is interesting. There's so many different races there, and at least Jeviet, who is a fucked up little cyborg, Barney ass dinosaur dude.
Yeah, if you wanna learn what Javiet looks like, I suggest you go to hold on a second.
furrydeviantart.com.
No,
not that one.
I say you should go to @Discotech Media on Twitter and look at the profile picture, because it's the guy.
Oh,
it's that guy.
I didn't make that connection. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, but a bunch of weirdos are around that all come together.
Yeah. I made a little cheat sheet of characters, because we got mostly it's the ship's called the Glomar, I think, and it's basically a traveling merchant ship for the merchant civilization Emarn, which is contrasted with the
Groma, actually.
Yeah, I think I was looking at Wikipedia spelling. There's inconsistent spelling all over the place, so but we got Mimsy, who's the main love interest girl. Shia is the captain. Javit, which is the dinosaur guy. We have Gorv, who's also who's like the old guy who ends up being Kay's bro. We got Slay, who's like Mimsy's boyfriend question mark, who sucks in different ways than Kay sucks. We got Reeg, who's like a mechanic guy. We got the twins, Mai and Raya, and then we have Papti, who's the other woman who doesn't really have a character except that her husband died. She has 2 kids, and then also at Moom, who's a robot that Kay picks up in episode 3, who's a small girl, because he's like, I feel bad about this robot because I'm a human being, and everyone else is like, but no, it's a robot. But he's like friends through.
Yeah, I'm sure especially we'll have a whole segment on her later on. And then Lieutenant is the last main guy of the cast.
Yeah.
Who Mahoon builds.
They find him wrecked and they rebuild him, and then he's like a funny military guy.
I love him. I think he's great.
Yeah.
He's a huge asshole. He's a military robot, and they're like, "Hey, we're getting invaded. Could you help?" And he's like, "No, I'm not really a gun guy."
Lots of assholes on the ship, to be honest.
Oh yeah, it's chock full. We're full of that, but he's a funny asshole, which none of the rest are. Absolutely, he's funny complimentary or asshole complimentary. He's like, sorry, I don't pick up guns. Ask the dinosaur. Ask that fucked up dinosaur to do it.
I think Gorb is the one guy who's not an asshole. He's just good. He's just a cool guy.
Yeah, he's okay comparatively.
He's a bro. He's a bro. And Papti doesn't have enough of a character to actually.
No. Yeah. So I mean, I think with a show like this, kind of broad strokes. It sounds like we're both pretty negative on most of the characters, which so far makes it pretty rough.
I would just like them. I think they're all right.
Oh, like all together? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, speak. What's up?
I like I feel like I like the characters well enough bouncing off each other. I just think they're like kind of awful to each other. Some of them need more development, I think. But I don't know if they'll get it. I'm on the fence with Slay, but also sometimes I'm on the fence with Kay. But I feel like Kay's interesting. I think because he kind of sucks. He's also kind of likable. It's been a while, so I don't know how I compare him with like Hikaru from Macross.
Yeah, Hikaru is interesting because he almost has like an opposite character arc, right? Because he goes from being this like very precocious kid who's just joining the military, like not because he's like a jingoist or whatever.
Yeah, he's just kind of like stuck in the role. That's what happens in Macross.
But in comparison, our guy here, Kay, is
yeah. So Kay in comparison, you start episode 1 just begins with him making out with his girlfriend in her room, and then her dad comes in, and Kay jumps out the window and gets picked up by his buddy, and they motorcycle away. It's just completely contrasting whatever Hikaru's got going on, which is fun. Kay definitely a man of contrast, where he's definitely got like the hero stuff, but he's more like rougher around the edges, both just like, a bit more selfish, but also womanizer who at times does not respect the personal space of women.
At times is generous. He does it like 4 times in the span of 12 episodes.
That was actually the thing, that part of the reason I like fell off episode 2, where I was like, damn, this guy's too much. It took like, watching episode 3 to be like, okay, maybe I do like this show. But it is a weird thing where it feels like the show is also wants to have it both ways with him, where it's like sometimes, he'll disrespect a woman's space and be like, the rascal, rapscallion. And other times it's like, well, no, this is for drama now, visibly making this character uncomfortable for, love triangle reasons. And it's like, you could do this a bit better, I think.
It's awkward because like the main person who's against it is Slay, and Slay is like a sniveling little horrifying not to use this word lightly, but cuck.
He's like he's the cuck. He's the Cy Argyle of this scenario. It's not made clear of like how formal or real the relationship is. He just kind of says, yeah, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, we're gonna be married.
It's super fake. I don't believe him at all, because like she never, like, even before Kay's there, very like episode 1,
she never says this. She never says, yeah, this is our relationship is real, we are definitely in a couple, and then it's just he's a weird entitlement to it, and he's like, well, Kay is this asshole, which isn't wrong, but it's like his reasons for it are because he wants Mimsy for himself, And it's also he's really passive aggressive. He's like, "Oh, okay, you're causing problems on the ship. You should leave. How dare you be like this? You're not a MR like us. You're an outsider." And it's also wrapped up in like this sort of like thing where he's kind of like he's a bit of a wimp, which kind of makes it worse. But also they also, I think, use that for like some weird patriarchy, masculinity stuff. Where Kay's like, well, if you want your girl, you gotta stand up and fight for her.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of also portraying as Slay as being unsympathetic for not being as like macho as Kay is, which is weird. There's gender going on in the show.
100%. Yeah, because it's like they just do the shot, right? Like the classic force a woman into a kiss, and she's like I don't want to do this, but then like she settles down and then she's in love. Like that's just the thing that happens point blank here.
After earlier on, she extremely does not like it. And she continues to waffle back and forth. No, I don't like it, and maybe I do like it, and it's like it's not great.
No, but like the important part is about Slay's relationship is that his objections come in basically when she's made her decision. Like by the time that he's really making those big like out there, like, hey, you need to get off the ship. This is not a healthy relationship between you two. She's already made the choice, and the choice is not fucking Slay.
Yeah.
So like if he had made those like done that earlier, it would be a more interesting love triangle, I think, because like everyone would like have a point, or be wrong equally. But as it is now, it's just frustrating.
It's weird because it feels like the love triangle is between the two main characters and this other guy.
Yes.
For what it's worth, I am enjoying Mimsy, but also I don't know how much. I guess if I think about it, there's a lot to say. Like I don't know, she's got stuff going on. Like she has both. She's interested, but also she has her own like reasons that are like political for wanting Kay on board that she's keeping close to her chest a bit. That's complicated a bit by her having feelings. We get I think there's some good stuff where there's an episode where she and Slay are fighting because he's being asked about her maybe liking Kay, and she just kind of like straight up says, "Oh well, if you're gonna be like that, and maybe I'll just tell him I like him, huh?" And then she made like 2 seconds after, like, okay, I said that to be mean specifically to you, and I thought I was like, okay, there's got some stuff here that's interesting. I think it's interesting to have that angle where she's like, oh, I'm deliberately poking you with a stick with my feelings for this person.
Yeah, I think I wish she would get more development that does not have to do explicitly with those two men. She does like take over the ship, like as she gets to do that, but it's like from Shia, who is like mostly sort of useless, and also does not have a lot to do. The other big character thing with her is that other characters will also pressure her to bang Slay because of like genetic sex baby having reasons, which makes it much worse.
I guess we should I guess this is a good segue to like talk about like the MR and culture thing is like an interesting thing, which is interesting world building, but also I think kind of shows where it's like a reminder that the people who made Macross are made by otaku for otaku. That's like the big thing about Macross is like, oh, it's the generation of anime fans who grew up watching anime making anime for their own sensibilities kind of thing.
Mel, those ass shots in episode 2 are outrageous. I
think I forgot those.
What? It's like I think I'll have a photo there. Maybe I'll put it in the description. But it's like 60% of the screen is just Mimsy's ass. It is like that, almost exactly like that one seed ass shot that everyone talks about.
That's funny.
Yeah, it just took me off guard because obviously fan service is not outside of the realm of possibility for these shows in this era, but that specific here's a big shapely butt in the camera's face feels very like a more modern invention, which that could be wrong. Maybe I'm not watching enough shows of this time period of big butts in them. If you know the big butt shows, send them my way. I'll be proven wrong. But it was surprising. It was surprising, like the level of that sexualization that's happening here.
Yeah. And we see like they have this thing where like again, there's another case where I think like they're having it both ways because they're otaku, where it's like a joke is made consistently in the early parts where like the Amara don't really have a nudity taboo.
Yeah.
Where they're just changing like in a common change room, and like Kay's the one who gets bashful because he's from our civilization where we do have that taboo, and less co-ed mixing, which I think sets up some cases of like subverting expectations. Kay's the one who gets flustered. Everyone's like, "What's wrong with you?" But also, Mimsy specifically is said to be, she is of marriageable age. I mean, she specifically is the one who is not someone who should do that stuff with. so they can have your cake and eat it too. And it's like, oh, well, your main love interest is still the person who slaps you for being cheeky with her about stuff. And also get at least the plot point of Wells, like Slay and Shia trying to pressure her, oh, you should get with Slay because you're going to be, marriageable age ends, I guess, early for Marn. So she's got like a limited time to like, get married and have kids.
She has 1 year left biologically to have a child, is what they say.
There's definitely, I think, room to have like a show which would be like, oh yeah, this culture doesn't care about that stuff, and maybe we can have commentary about like, why is it that our culture has this stuff? But in this case, it's more for like, subverting some expectations with the harem comedy stuff will also, or I guess, ecchi comedy stuff, and then also playing into it more with Mimsy anyway, at the same time.
Yeah, and like in speaking too of their culture, the one other big thing that comes out is early on, where a bunch of their people die, and there's like some real like cultural disconnect around that, where they like sing a song around a stone instead of like acting outwardly mournful.
Yeah, like the way of expressing grief seems like K interprets it as like they don't care, like they are just like they move on from the grief too quickly, and it's just the way they express it, and it comes off as insensitive when he's like, oh well, you guys don't even care about your dead ones.
Specifically, it's after he forces a kiss on her again, and he's like, oh, I assumed you'd be okay with me sexually assaulting you since you don't care about all the people that died.
This happens in episode 2, and it probably explains why I took a break from the show for like 7 months.
It's a bad moment. You're really doing a double-decker disservice to yourself with
like I feel like the show is mostly good like after that, but also Kay is still like that on and off for the show. But like there's the end of this episode is he does just like force a kiss on the revolutionary woman, and Mimi's just like, oh you.
Well, what's her name, Mel? What's that revolutionary woman's name?
It's Jeanne d'Arc.
Yeah.
Who the queen's name is Marie Antoinette.
Yes.
Kay turns the camera and is like, oh, it's funny that this place in France has characters named after French history.
Is the idea for that is that like those are like some alternate universe versions of those real historical people? Is that the implication?
I assume that like the setting of Orguss being like, yeah, there's just a bunch of alternate dimension Earths smashed together into one Earth, and there's weird dimensions happening. It's just an excuse to like, yeah, we can do whatever the fuck we want in terms of setting. Here's an episode where like a bunch of like Vikings on horses just crash the ship. We can do that.
Yeah, in that episode too, it does also seem like of low technology even to the characters on that ship. They're like, what are those weirdos doing? That's very unusual.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to worry about it because we're on a spaceship and they have little baby axes.
The French Revolution episode is pretty fun because it's like, we gave the queen a super weapon. The Amarian sold one to her, but like, in the contract they're like, oh, you should use a super weapon for I guess like peaceful purposes. It seems like they're like, oh, the weapon's being used against people, which is against the terms of the contract, because the Amarans as business people are like really into contracts.
Yes.
So they're like, well, we'll help the revolution by repossessing the cannon, and then when the revolutionaries overthrow the new government, they'll just formally give it to us. And then we'll be friends. And then like you have Shia talking to the queen at the end and being like, we don't mind making you mad because we want to be on good terms with the new government that's about to overthrow you. It's pretty good, I think. It's
a good moment. It's maybe Shia's best moment so far in these 12 episodes.
Yeah, I don't know. She gets some stuff like she's in on like the K fakes his death plan, which she blows really quickly.
We're getting a little.
Yeah, we're kind of talking about like later episodes in the batch before the earlier ones, but let's backtrack.
Let's see, because I have some more things to say about those episodes individually later. They got to go through. I think a good next talking point. And speaking of romance, and speaking of just events that are happening, the introduction of Moom, who is a little robot girl. It is Kay's first like positive character trait, where he sees like this tiny human girl who's like asking like, hey, can you please buy me? And he's like, first of all, slavery, not cool. You shouldn't be selling people. And then he finds out, oh, it's a robot. It's not really human.
Which makes it okay, apparently. To everyone but Kay, it's
yes.
Like Kay's the only one who humanizes this very human robot.
Yeah, the guy like takes her arm off and everything to show that she's not human. But Kay's like, I'm not leaving here unless we're buying this little robot that I'm going to have as my daughter / younger sister thing.
Just an aside, this episode they specifically find her in a shop where Mimsy makes a stop to make a phone call to her mom, who is in the government for her home country of the Amar country, to inform like, hey, we got the singularity. And like there's this nice exchange with a shop owner where they're like, she's like, hey, can I get a direct call, no oversight with to Amarn? Okay, he's like, it costs 2 gravity chips, and he's like, oh well, there's no dimensional transfers that affect the call. He's like, no, it's all good, and I think it's like fun world building. I'm just like, oh yeah, dimension stuff fucks with like phone calls.
That's what 5G's about. It's supposed to stop that.
And then afterwards, like Mimsy, like he takes he took out the arm. It comes off so easily, and she uses to haggle down the price of Moon, which is
So Mimsy does relent, and they do get Moon, who is I think. Had a little bit of an arc. I think she's delightful. I think she's very fun.
Yeah, she's nice. The writers can't help themselves a little bit.
It's so weird. It's so weird. The way the writers treat her. I have some feelings about this because the show does not sexualize Moon.
Yeah, she's just a young girl, and she has a precocious crush on Key, which I think is fine. Like I think very normal for
right.
Children to have like a little bit of a baby crush on like a adult authority figure. But like the weirdest thing the show does is Mimsy's like, oh okay, do you have feelings for Moom? And Kay's like, no, what the fuck? She's a child. Which is like another good moment. I mean, he says it more like teasingly, cockingly, but he's like he's not interested in that way, which is good. But like this question shouldn't be asked. Is the
right. It comes up multiple times. It comes up in the episode preview where he jokes about not having a lolicon complex, and it comes up here. And it's just like the show's answering a question that did not need to be asked. I did.
It does serve in a way where it's like my T-shirt says this raising questions. Right, it's a my T-shirt. It's like
like me as a viewer, I understand that when the young girl has a crush on the main character,
the fact that he like dismissively says, "Oh, I'm not lolicon," is also the thing. Like you don't have to say it like that either.
Yeah, it just seems so like clearly not a problem. I wouldn't have thought I will say the scene where she spills coffee on his dick and balls. And he has to take his pants off, and he's naked, and then some of the shower. I could have done without those, but I think if they didn't have some of the lolicon jokes, I wouldn't have it in a weird way because it is like a nice, pure, great relationship in 4K that's like has nothing untoward about it. But the show keeps wedging me with its elbow in my chest.
Like I'd say I overall am positive on what I've seen in the show so far, but it's also like. There's the stuff where it's like, oh come on, you don't have to do that. For like, there's definitely like a 30 to 40% of the show where I'm like eyebrow is firmly raised permanently, and
then 40% of the show is they're fighting. It's really boring.
Yeah, there is a lot of the battle rages, unfortunately.
Yeah, we haven't talked about any of it. I think the animation for the fighting and the choreography and stuff is really weak.
Yeah, I think the show isn't as off model as Macross can be, but it's not like the fights are exciting. Like sometimes Macross does look like the worst show on earth, but sometimes it's really good. And I think Orguss leans more on the good side. Like it doesn't look bad, but it's never like.
Yeah, I feel like even like Macross looking bad still has a lot of sauce in it and like kinetic energy in its fights. Like I know this is not like the titular Macross fight, but I always think of the wrestling moment where vampire Zentradi comes down and whacks like the 3 main pilots with like a big pipe, and it's the coolest thing in the world in that ship. He goes around a tree. That's cool. I like when Kay.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment. Worth noting. Kay basically has a Valkyrie at the start of the show. It's called a Bronco. And then it crashes and they rebuild it. But he's like, "Hey, your ships have arms. Can mine also have arms?" And that's why this show is. Because he's like, "Damn, I got to do the tree thing. I want to do that again." And then they have a little sit down where they're like, hey, let's name the robot. Just settle on Orguss.
Yeah, a decent name.
Particularly, what you want should you talk about the episode where they had the little arc where they go to like the town?
Oh yeah,
where they did because they go to a town after they buy Moon. They go to a town like this is the Atlantean civilization in the town of Torian, and we have a market there because we're traders. There's some mix-up of stuff where some Chiram come and make a mess, and Kay fights them off. But the villagers are like, well, listen, you fighting with them is making this complicated for us. Please leave. And it's like a whole kerfuffle. And some guys show up and steal Orguss after they name it immediately. And then Kay gets wrapped up in like, oh, well, the reason we have this situation is, we got the hostages. That our town has to pay tribute basically to Chiram because of our hostages. Can he save them? Here's a photo of my daughter, my granddaughter, by the way. And Kay's like, hey, I love women. And he goes to save them. And then he finds out, oh no, this woman I saved likes this other guy who was one of the guys who asked me to save her, and he feels sad.
Yeah, that was a very mid arc. I thought. I think the only interesting part. Go ahead. Sorry.
I actually thought about this episode for a bunch because I was like, why does the episode end like that? It feels weird. I think it made me think more about Kay's character, which is interesting.
Ending with him getting like owned that it's not the right girl.
The thing is, he ends really depressed for like over a girl he never met, actually interacted with and met. Like he knows her from a photo and her name, and then he's like, oh well, they're the girlfriend. I was like, why is he feeling this way towards her?
I think he's just like a womanizer, and it's mostly played for a joke. I don't think we're supposed to read it.
I mean, maybe read into it a bit more. I started to think about it like because I felt like maybe this girl looks like his girlfriend from Earth. And a couple episodes later, you see him like watching the horizon and getting like memories of his girlfriend Tina, who we see in episode 1. He's just like mad about having these memories. It's like, God damn it! And part of me wonders if like he fixates that on his girl. Like we see him like all these women kind of thing, but when he's actually rescuing them, he only fixes on the one who looks like he knows my name and my photo, but like it looks like his girlfriend. And I'm wondering if like there's a bit more like subtle stuff going underneath where like he's like a womanizer, but some of that is maybe an unconscious front. Like he's cares more about his girlfriend than he maybe realizes, and old habits die hard. Because we seeing like I think as the show progresses, he's not like it's not like he's becoming less of a womanizer because he does like kiss John Dark, but like we see him kind of like thinking more about his old girlfriend and kind of thinking like, oh, I'm maybe more serious about Mimsy and being maybe a bit too aggressive about it. And so I'm kind of wondering if he's having this arc where he's like if he hadn't been isekai, maybe he'd still be a bit of a playboy, but like now that he's like away from home and now stuck on the ship, he's just kind of like zeroing in a bit more on like a singular love interest, but he's kind of torn between like his old girlfriend who he can't see, he's homesick for, this girl that he likes on the ship that he's stuck on, kind of thing.
Yeah, that'll be interesting if he ever goes back.
I don't know if the show will pay off, but it gave me like thinking like, because the ending of the show, that episode makes a lot more sense if it's like him maybe unintentionally fixating this girl who reminds him of his girlfriend. Because you also have that in this episode where you have like, well, first off, you have like the girl Elaine and her boyfriend being lovey-dovey in front of Kay while he gets like awkward, and then Slay forcefully puts his arm around Mimsy. He's like, oh, we should be a couple like that, and she's just like very not cool with that. And then we see like later at the end of the episode when Mimsy joins Kay as he looks out the window, he almost does that, but he can't bring himself to do it, because I think that's an interesting choice they did there. Just like he's in a weird spot emotionally, I think, and like some of it I think is masked by his bravado. But like clearly that's like the degree to which he's like him not being in an unfamiliar place and being sort of like his crew around him being sort of like the degree to which they're kind of like on and off caring about him or not wanting him or only interested in him as like the quote unquote singularity is kind of like messed up a bit too. I think that's interesting. I think there's a bit there's some stuff here that I think would be interesting how the show pays off of, and I think
it's on that like same level. It is a bit of a push and pull with his relationship with the crew in large, with how much of it is like a found family situation and how much of it is like we are keeping you here for business reasons. And I'm sure like that arc will trend more towards the found family stuff as we go towards. But as of right now, it is funny because it's like it seems like he's integrated like all together. But then when like shit comes down and they're like, we should like consider killing this guy, and everyone's like seriously considering it, or like not letting him go.
Like there's a couple of people who are like ride or die for him, and there's people who are like more on the fence, and there's people who are like against him. Is the setup because like we have Mimsy is and Gorv are on his side. Gorv is the bro. Boom is obviously on Kay's side. Shy and the twins seem to go either way depending on the moment.
One of the twins like is the one that makes the big call for him to leave in that episode where they pretend he's dead, where they pretend to do it for fake. She's like, I think I think it's the blue one, but don't quote me on that. But blue twin is like, he needs to leave now. He's actually a danger to all of us, which was surprising to me because I thought like, oh, they're all cool at this point.
Yeah, I thought the twins might be more cool with him just because they fight together and also of all of them.
Yeah, but like they wouldn't need a good pilot if he wasn't there. Is like
that's also true. I mean, the thing is they do make a point, and like I think in one episode they're like, when Moom is like world building, exposition dumping, Moom's like, oh, the Amaran, they're like a peaceful. They're not a belligerent civilization. And Kay's like, they have a lot of weapons for a non-belligerent group. And Moon's like, oh, you know, they're merchants, so, you know, pirates are gonna happen, so they gotta defend themselves.
Yeah, and they also sell weapons every once in a while.
Yeah, well, you know, they can't oppress their own people. It's okay when they sell weapons for other reasons. Don't worry about it, I guess. We'll see if the show actually does anything with it, because I think that's interesting.
It is a very like loose relationship. I think like back in episode 1, when they're talking to the bad guys, and like, don't we have like an agreement that like you're not supposed to just murder us out of nowhere? And the military faction is just like, we're going to kill you if you don't do it. Do it now.
Yeah, the Chiram do seem willing to just break treaties with might versus might. But we do have an interesting conversation with like one of the two of the Chiram leaders, where they're like, only when we, you know, fix the world can we actually be freed. It's a shame that our warriors have to fight the war. And it's like, what are you guys thinking? I think we're gonna get more out there. Like, we haven't got like the full lens. We haven't peeked behind the curtain of the Chiram as much.
Yeah, they're extremely sauceless. I fall asleep in basically every single one of their teams.
Well, I think it's most of the time we have the Team Rocket guys, like this guy Roberto and his Lieutenant Henry, who just seem to be Team Rocket guys so far. Especially Roberto, who's like the captain, who's like, we're gonna blow up. We gotta retreat, and then the fact they're retreating means the ship and Kay can leave. And then as soon as Kay leaves, he's like, we can't. Gotta go get him.
I know what you mean by saying Team Rocket guys, but also like the level of love and affection I have.
Oh yeah, I guess Team Rocket guys are actually like good.
They're fun. Team Rocket's fun. You should have your bad guys. You know, if not interesting, like, just be fun or something unique about them. I really can't tell you any character traits for any of the Chiram besides cool lady one. I guess at the end. Yeah,
I think Glasses guy will get more eventually. The Shades guy. Yeah, but for now he's still an enigma.
Is she a Char?
Why is this some kind of Char? Yes.
Extremely lame Char. Can we talk about how the dinosaur guy cheated on his girlfriend?
Yeah. I think that's we got this cool episode, I think, where they have like the grape farm and then like the dimensional transfer happens. That's a cool set piece. We also get Jabby's backstory.
Yeah,
we kind of get Jabby as like a parallel to Kay in a lot of ways, and Kay even says this directly to the camera. His backstory is like he was cheating on his girlfriend, and then his girlfriend found him, and then he's like running away. Oh no, I'm sorry, I love you actually. And then that moment, the dimensional transfer happens, and he lost his girlfriend, and now he's looking for his girlfriend. And like both he and Kay are also like the only ones of their kind on that ship, and so it's a way to like see each other and each other experiences. And I think it's interesting.
Yeah, Jeffy, it's cool.
But most of that episode is cool as well because like the dimensional transfer. That scene is pretty bonkers.
I do love that they reveal he cheated on his girlfriend. He is
it's so funny. Like the conversation they're having too is like his girlfriend's like, oh, you know, with global warming, I hear like our species is going extinct. Isn't that concerning? And he's just like, damn, that's crazy. My tail she just doesn't care at all. It's so funny.
Little nightmare creature. I hate him. I hate little Jeffy.
Yeah, he got the flamethrower installed in his mouth to do circus jerks.
That is good.
And then he's just later when the barbarians attacking the ship, okay, he's like, yeah, you just breathe fire on them and it works.
They see him as a terrifying god, as you should.
I mean, yeah, he's just kind of like a demon thing. So.
Yeah. I mean, I do just wish. I think like the biggest issue with this show for what it's doing is just that the villains are so dry at the moment.
Yeah, like we basically ended off at the point where they're starting to get a little interesting because we get Glasses guy. I think seems like he's getting involved a bit more now, and we introduce a rival pilot, Athena, who is also a second singularity? Question mark.
A doublearity.
Yeah. It kind of defeats the purpose of singularity if there's more than one of them, but yeah. They say make a point. Yeah, if there's a second singularity, maybe not as strong a singularity as Kay, whatever that means, but like she is one, and she's a good pilot too. Kay's like, damn. They have the moment where it's like, I can think everything you're thinking, and you can think everything I'm thinking. Strange, isn't it? And they end in a tie, and it's like, oh, I think she's in the OP too, so I think that's she's going to obviously go.
Yeah, she'll come back. I'm sure.
Curious to see what they do with her because I feel like it's something much needed. The slow is it definitely is kind of like slow and plotting. I think there's like kind of decent stuff, but it's also is a bit.
Yeah, I think like the peak. I like the Grave episode a lot. I like the Marie Antoinette episode a bit too. What's really funny there is that I saw Marie Antoinette, and I was like, first of all, wow, this woman's a lot like Marie Antoinette, and second, that
She's
wow,
like, they don't have bread, let them eat cake. And I'm like, damn,
I get some real Antoinette vibes here.
it's goofy. It's
But also, like, she's like just a fun, good villain, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like, so this is like the next step of the show. We're gonna introduce like the first like recurring bad guy who's like got a little bit more sauce. Like maybe for this arc, she just immediately dies, and we're back to the Shiram.
yeah.
So maybe
Very
back on me,
episodic
but-
show for the most part. Like there's a two-parter with it's weird because it feels halfway serialized, halfway
Yeah.
episodic.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to say right now. Why don't they tell Mimsy that Kay isn't actually dead in that episode? It seems like it'd be very advantageous to do that and not
I
ruin
know
the whole
actually
plan.
no. She turns blue.
She gets all the blood sucked out.
Yeah, only her face turns blue though. Her hands are peach colored.
One of the worst lines in the show is after like Kay saves her from getting big sucked, and he's like says to the bats,
like
"You
that.
guys have
Don't
all
say like
sucked
that."
her. Now it's my turn." As he starts macking on this like 95%
It's
dead
so-
lady
It's so funny.
nightmare.
It's so funny. They catch a deer and make a fake Orguss specifically to get blown up. He's like, oh, he's dead. also really funny. They're like, hey, we made a jamming signal to jam to make sure to hide case singularity signal. I think it'll work. And they immediately try it out, and the Chirmer are immediately like, they have something funky. They're obviously jamming the signal.
Yeah,
It just fails immediately.
They don't know tactics over there. They're on the factory ship. They're bad at that stuff.
They're merchants. They're not tacticians.
No.
I think it's just a lot of like Kay's like getting involved when they bring out the maps for the encirclements. Kay's actually there to be given tactics because he's like, well, yeah, I'm in the military. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, also, if you fly up, we should mention if you fly up too high, you go into the friction zone and you blow up.
There's different areas where like friction zones, which seem to also be contributing to global warming. That seems to be suggesting that like the dimensional stuff is contributing to global warming in a way where it's like, well, if they don't fix the dimensional rifts, the Earth will just die. So there's like a stakes of like needing to save the Earth that is tied to the singularity stuff. It seems. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, surely we're gonna have to get into like the real meat of that in the next watch stuff. I would suspect.
Yeah, I should hope that the second half, the second third of the show, will get into like meaty developments, especially because it seems like we're on our way to the homeland. We're like kind of like they're kind of encircled at the moment. They're like they're really in a pickle. They got to break out.
In a grape.
We need some more guys.
I mean, we got Lieutenant, one of the goats. I love that. Love the little guy.
He wakes everyone up, and they're like, "Why are we waking everyone up?" Slay gets stabbed.
Oh yeah,
happens.
we forgot. Yeah, he gets he gets cut open by a fucking Viking warrior. Who cares? He sucks.
And then Mimsy stays by his side. It is a fun scene where like Kay goes to visit him. He's like, "Yeah, damn, you did a good job. Hope you recover well." And Slay's just like, "Oh, you're pitying me." And Kay's like, "Haha, yeah. Anyway, I'll catch you later."
Slay's like,
Shut up, Chad. Just because you're taking my Stacy away doesn't mean you have my respect.
Kay's just like so friendly about it. Like he is not bothered by Slay's animosity at that moment. He's just like, "Yeah, it's cool."
of course, Slay's a little baby. He's Slay Argyle. He's a little baby.
Cy Argyle is better than this.
Oh yeah, easily. Argyle. I would not. I should not have compared him to Slay. It's too manner. Slay really is one of the worst guys of all time.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. It's just like he really is a guy who's just so whiny and feels entitled because he's quote unquote a nice guy, I guess.
Yeah. But also the rest of them are like, please let that nice guy bang you for pregnancy reasons. Like we don't know like what the deal is with their race if it's like a big cultural reason or if like they're having a population crisis. Or
it could just be patriarchy.
Well,
And heteronormative expectations kind of thing.
No. I mean specifically, everyone is saying please bang Slay instead of K. So I don't think it's patriarchy there.
No, I mean, well, yeah, I guess I just mean like for like you want the species, you want to have babies. And that,
Oh,
I guess it's
yeah,
just like
yeah.
I assume there's just like patriarchal societal expectations in that civilization. Like you should have children. Basically.
Okay. Yeah. I get you mean there. Yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts? What's your review out of 10 be? Your IGN review.
It's like a 7 at the moment.
Ooh.
So I feel that's higher than you.
Yeah, it's a few things. A lot of the characters I'm frustrated with because they're unlikable, and also I just think like their relationships are a bit rote. I do enjoy Whom, and I enjoy the little fucked up dragon guy, despite myself, even though it's a little sickening to look at him.
He's not a looker, that's for sure.
But like ultimately it's been a lot of
We've got the Friendship Evolution episode. Kay gives Rig the blueprints, like, hey, make this. And what the fuck is this? Oh, it's a bazooka.
yeah, that's good.
That's good.
But ultimately, so far the character relationships are not interesting enough for me to be super invested.
Yeah.
But I do like when Kay and Mahum hang out. I think that's like the peak
Yeah.
vibes of the show to me.
I think I like Mimsy well enough that I kind of like into it. I want to see if they do something. Like, he just sucks in a big way.
Yeah. I think if they like give the villain some sauce, and I think I don't think the animation and like fight choreography is going to improve, but that's a part of it as well. Is that it's just so boring to look at when combat is happening for large stretches of time. Those are the big part. There's like not like a big like interesting theme happening right now. So all those things kind of coalesce in me. Maybe I'm like a 5 out of 10 right now.
I definitely think the show is best when like they go to a place and there's something weird and cool is interesting about the place.
Yeah.
And like the village is like maybe the weakest version of that. Like it's it's just a village. But yeah, the Grape episode and like the French Revolution episode stand out. It's just like, oh yeah, cool episode where they go to a place and then a thing happens. Yeah. Like I guess like writing notes for this show helps me. I think writing notes for the show did a lot more for this because I feel like I was like when I was just watching it on my own without taking notes, I was just like, yeah, this is alright. And then like I guess I cared more when I was like actually like engaging like writing on the show because I felt like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that maybe isn't as important, but I feel like they're like trying to like, flesh out the world in a way that makes it more interesting. Maybe that isn't like having an interesting setting doesn't like make the show necessarily good, but it gives me like stuff to think about at least.
Yeah.
I think the show's ambitious at least for what it's trying to do in the background. Maybe not in like the core plot stuff. I don't think the character stuff isn't as good as like Macross is, or at least the first 3 episodes of Macross.
Yeah.
Last stretch of Macross is something. It's something all right, but
yeah, I think all the isekai stuff is really interesting. I think like the reveal that like, hey, these are possibly real people from historical Earth, like being reborn in some capacity, is like so amazing in the way it opens up the possibility space. And that part's great, and I hope there's more of it. So like, I'm not a huge downer. This is not a Gundam Seed. This is like an interesting show that is I think just fails on the execution front for me a lot.
I think now I've only seen 2 episodes, but I do feel like there's more going on than like Southern Cross for me. But we'll see how Southern Cross goes. But
yeah, check us out.
There's a lot of possibility space for stuff. They can do interesting stuff. They can also, I guess, do boring stuff, but it's definitely not bad shows. I think I lean more towards, I said 7 out of 10, so I lean towards good. Maybe we'll see if it's like mid good or actually good. Presumably there's a reason this at least got an OVA, but also presumably there's a reason Macross is the only one that got sequels. So
well, Orguss got one.
Orguss got one. It got the OVA, and then that's definitely something. It's more than Southern Cross got.
Maspida got a music video sequel thing that got a Robotech adaptation, so that's something. Yeah. Love, Live Alive, I think.
Yeah, I guess I'll see whatever that is whenever you get them.
Yes. All right. Well,
I forgot. It's like Mega. One of the Megazone things is like.
Yes, the movie is an adaptation of Megazone Part 1.
Okay, because I know Megazone. The Megazone OVAs, all of them, are like another Studio Nue thing, so that'd probably be the next thing I'd watch. That's for the future. I don't care right now.
Yes, we should end this podcast. I think. Yeah, good stuff.
How do we wrap this up?
Well, of course, if you're listening on my feed,
gonna start saying a bunch of ethnic slurs like the ending of the show.
No.
We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about that. Just.
Well, if you want to hear people not saying ethnic slurs, and you're a fan of my podcast, please check out Mel's podcast mentioned earlier, Ultra Q, and check out some good Showa Ultraman episodes and some other
and some not good ones. We just finished Ultraman Ace, which is
eventually you'll get to the good one, Ultraman Leo, and you're gonna be like, man, all this other stuff like sucked in comparison.
Yeah.
What were we doing?
I've seen 2 episodes of Taro, and it's wild, and we'll see how we enjoy that show when we get to it. properly in like a couple weeks. For now, who knows? But we've enjoyed most of the shows we've watched so far. Ultraman Ace is just kind of like their stuff behind. Listen to our pod and learn. You don't have to watch it though, because you can if you want. But
Yeah, and then if you're coming from Ultra Q already and you want to, you're really curious about Robotech, come and watch me and Mandy's podcast. We've seen all of Macross and equivalent Robotech episodes. You've already seen Macross, and you're curious about like the Robotech part of it. This is a pretty good way.
Apparently, it's like 95% the same, except sometimes the American imperialism slips in a little bit more.
Yeah, well, you have to. Mel spoiled it, so but you still have to watch. You still have to watch and listen to me and Manny discover that fact over 35 episodes.
I haven't watched a single episode of Robotech, even with Southern Cross. Yeah, I'm content. Hearing you describe the changes they made to Southern Cross is ridiculous.
It's very funny.
How do you take like silly girl protagonist and make her bland and think, oh, there's a good character writing? Like, what?
Fucking the Iraq War fucked everything up. Okay, culturally in America, it all goes back to that. I should get the blowback eyes on my podcast at some point.
That'd be a good extremely fun. I haven't listened to like the most recent season back.
Yeah,
the new one's almost out, so I'm like, well, I gotta finish this.
I'm only mostly joking. I do feel like that level of jingoism like comes straight. I guess like probably more direct. Like what would that be? Yeah, I guess around that time period that level of war, like in Afghanistan.
I mean,
stuff.
what year was Robotech in?
Oh god,
it was 80s, right?
Yes, Robotech was 80s.
This would be pre-Gulf War, but it would be Soviet war within Afghanistan, which is relevant.
Yes,
there's half of what the most recent blowback season is about. So
yeah, it would be very funny. And I'll be like, how do you guys feel about Ultraman? Any feelings there? Push them your way.
I'd love to hear the blowback people talk about the Bolton episode of Ultraman.
There's some like direct American ones that might be interesting. It's like an Empire comparison.
The Marucci
there.
episode of Ultraman.
Yeah, it's a good podcast. Everyone should check out. Ultra Q, good pod art.
You can find our Twitter our Twitter is ultra_Q. I'm not usually the one who says the Twitter for the pod. Our email, I don't know, if you want to send Orguss emails, maybe they should just send it to your podcast email.
If you have any questions, if you followed my instructions to the letter, you pause the podcast, you watch 12 episodes of Orguss, and you have a lot of thoughts, and you're like, both of these people did not say the correct opinions, go ahead and write them in to doyourememberrobotech@gmail.com, and we will
if you have questions about why the ending of the show is just saying the G slur for Romani people over and over again.
If you have our Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, spoiler questions, we'll be happy to take those as well. Do you know the context of that scene, by the way? It's Frollo. Frollo calls Sora that because Sora is dressed so colorfully as a Disney character.
Oh, fantastic!
And unbelievable.
Not actually fantastic, obviously.
No, so we won't have that as our ending theme, but we'll think of something. Maybe it's just the ending theme for. The blowback ending theme. We'll steal them. That'll make us. That'll make them like us enough to do it.
We'll figure it out.
Viewer, you at home, we are going to be watching the next 12 episodes of Orguss after this. At some point in the future, we don't have a definitive date. Maybe we'll put it in the description if we do, but probably not because things go back and forth. This is a little fun extra thing. If you enjoyed it. I mean, don't look at me on social media. I don't really exist there, but follow all of Mel's stuff.
Yeah, I'm at Deer Crowns on Twitter and Blue Sky. Well, that's it.
Yep. What's her sign off? We got to have a fun sign off thing. I don't want it to be about kissing or the slurs.
I don't know. I don't want to.
Let's have an orgasm.
It's organ time.
Okay. Yeah, one of those. Audience, you write in and say which one you like better.
Where are you going? Where are you coming?
Okay. All right. Bye.
It's 11 p.m.
We need to leave. We need to get out of here. Goodbye.
Bye. Later.
遠くに聞こえた鐘の音が少し寂しくてもう一度強く 光ってる